I will now call this meeting of the Senate Judiciary Committee to order. It is our very first in-person meeting of the 81st legislative session, and we welcome you all to Carson City live. And I'll ask the secretary to start by taking the roll.
Vice Chair Cannizzaro,
Here.
Senator Orenshaw, Senator Harris, Senator Settlemyre,
Here.
Senator Hansen, Senator Pickard, Chair Scheibel.
Here. And we are joined by our fantastic staff. We have Patrick Guinan from the LCB with us in person to my left. And we still have Mr. Anthony, our committee counsel, with us via Zoom. Those of us in the room can see him up on the screen. Those of you who are watching from afar, I'm not sure what you can see right now because this is all new to all of us. But I do want to let the committee know that most of your LAs reached out to me personally to remind you that you are now on camera. So if you can't fix your face, the whole audience will see it. However, you will still have your mask on, so that should help alleviate some of the problems that apparently you all normally have. With that, we will go back to our method of speaking from before. In the olden times, before we were all on Zoom, you have a microphone button in front of you. You have to press that before you speak. Even though we can hear you in the room, it is more important than ever that your speaking, whatever you're saying, is picked up by the microphone so that it's on the audio recording and so that everybody else who's watching from afar can hear it. You can, when we go to questions, you can get my attention by raising your hand, shooting me a message, something like that. And for those of you who are, actually everybody in the room and those watching at home, we are still doing a hybrid version of things. So in case you did not see the committee room when we first started, all of the senators are here present in person. Just like before when you watched us on the internet, which I know you all did religiously, whoever is speaking, the camera will focus on. If that is a witness or a presenter, there is a separate camera that will focus on them. And that witness or that presenter may also be on Zoom, in which case, as you're watching from home, the live feed will switch to the Zoom or the video of that person. And the only thing that I ask of everybody here, and when we do testimony, we will continue with our newfangled testimony with the help of our broadcast services to beam people's voices in from above via the telephone to testify and support opposition and neutral. That system will not be changing, at least for now. We do have a very, very small room capacity limit. It's about 9 people in this room. And as you can see, we constitute 9 just with senators and staff. So I'm not sure when we'll be able to welcome all of you into the audience, but I am certainly glad that we can all be here in person, at least on the dais, to ask questions and get more information. And that also means that those of you who are here in the room will need to silence your cell phones, please, in case you got out of the habit. Same thing with your computers. Senators no longer need to log into Zoom on their computers as long as they're here, but you are always welcome to utilize your computer for taking notes and reading documents and bills and things like that. Just make sure that your speakers are off, otherwise we will all be able to hear all of your notifications. I think that about covers it for now. The only other thing that I ask is everybody's patience as we work through the new system. I'm sure we will get the hang of it. And with that, I think we are ready to move on to our very first hybrid bill presentation, which is AB 24. We have presenters here with us via video, and I will now open the hearing on AB 24. Please proceed whenever you're ready. Oh, and you still have to say your name for the record, whether you're presenting or answering a question. Thank you.
So thank you. I'm Elizabeth Neighbors, Elizabeth Neightbors. I am here on behalf of the Division of Public and Behavioral Health in support of AB 24. I am here to briefly go over that bill. It clarifies and expands the definition of a forensic facility in Nevada Revised Statute 175.539. The bill is designed to update current forensic facilities identified in the Division of Public and Behavioral Health to include Stein Forensic Facility opened in 2015. Prior to that, we only had in the State Lakes Crossing Center that was identified as a forensic facility. So this update is much needed as we are expanding. The bill also gives BPBH the authority to designate future facilities and units of facilities as forensic hospitals or treatment centers. And it will allow the division to draft policy defining exactly what the criteria are for qualifying as a forensic facility, which we have not had in the statute in the past. Our expectation is that this population is going to grow, so it is greatly needed to have this definition expanded and flexible so that as the future moves forward, new facilities that are built and new units that are identified can qualify without our having to go back to the legislature and include them in the statute. So I am happy to answer any questions about the bill, and I am hopeful for your support.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neighbors. I think we do have some questions from members of the committee. I will go first to Senator Orenshaw.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Dr. Neighbors, for presenting the bill. My question on Assembly Bill 24, you'd mentioned a possible expansion beyond Lakes Crossing and the Stein facility. Do you envision Assembly Bill 24 in the future to allow placement of incompetent persons at private contracted facilities or perhaps out of state? Or do you believe that this language change would still limit the placement of those incompetent persons to a state-run facility such as Lakes Crossing, Stein, or if there's a future state-run facility constructed?
At the present time, we don't have any anticipation that there would be, that these facilities would be privately contracted.
If you could just put your name on the record, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Elizabeth Neighbors for the record. And nor do we anticipate placing anyone out of state. That would be very difficult to take them out of the judicial venue that they are in. I don't know that it excludes. There are states that do have privately contracted facilities that do competency restoration. So I don't know that this excludes that, but it was not really anticipated as a prominent component of the bill. It's just to be able to manage our own facilities.
Thank you, Dr. Neighbors. Thank you, Chair.
Absolutely. We'll go next to Senator Pickard.
Chair Scheibel, and thank you, Ms. Neighbors, for your presentation. I had the same question as Senator Orenshaw, but as a follow-up to that, I'm wondering, when we talk about the term forensic, typically in the law, we're talking about a rearward-looking, legal, interpretive type of definition. And I want to be sure that we're talking about a therapeutic approach, a facility that is still looking at rehabilitation as its core mission, since we're dealing with juveniles. And then as a follow-up to that, I'm wondering if this definition, where we talk about designated by the division, is there some precedence to suggest that this would not authorize a private facility? And I'm just hearkening back to prior sessions. I think last session we prohibited or attempted to prohibit private penal institutions. And so I'm wondering if we're traveling down a similar track.
Elizabeth Neighbors, for the record, in response to the first part of your question about is this a therapeutic facility, absolutely. Our two forensic hospitals are both licensed as psychiatric hospitals. And we, and I should qualify that these are adult facilities, not juvenile facilities. We have in the past had juveniles who were being adjudicated as an adult, but we typically do not have juveniles in our facilities who are under the age of 18 unless that's the case. So we have all of the same attributes as a civil psychiatric hospital with the same kind of staffing. The hospitals that we currently have are structured with treatment teams, with psychiatrists, psychologists, nurses, recreational programs, with the goal of restoring the individual as well as treating their psychiatric disorders and returning them as recovered as we can to the community. The second part, in terms of the privatizing of these facilities, so far in Nevada, we have no precedent for doing that for forensic psychiatric hospitals. And at the moment, it is not anticipated that we would do that. There is no plan that we have in place, and we have not really looked into that as a alternative to our current model for delivering these services.
All right. Are there any other questions from members of the committee? I don't see any questions. So we will now move to testimony in support of AB 24.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel. To testify in support on AB 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in support on AB 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. And Chair, at this time, there are no callers to provide support testimony.
All right, thank you. We will move on to testimony in opposition to AB 24.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on AB 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in opposition on AB 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. And Chair Scheibel, at this time, there are no callers to provide opposition testimony.
All right, then we will move to testimony in the neutral position on AB 24.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel. To testify in neutral standing on AB 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in neutral on AB 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. And Chair, at this time, there are no callers to give neutral testimony.
All right. Dr. Neighbors, do you have any closing comments on AB 24?
No, I thank you for your consideration of the bill and just that it would really facilitate our being able to manage our forensic facilities going forward. And thank you for your consideration.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here and presenting to us. I will now close the hearing on AB 24, and I will open the hearing on AB 27. I understand we have a couple of people with us from the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. If you guys could go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel and members of the committee. For the record, Kathy Kaplan. I'm the Chief of Child Support Enforcement Program with the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. And with me today is Kim Smalley. She's a Social Service Program Specialist within the Child Support Enforcement Program in our Policy Unit. And I'm here to present AB 27. Child support payments must be rendered to the State Disbursement Unit, or SDU for short, as stated in the child support order. When an obligee leaves the original state of the order and applies for child support services in another state, payments must still be submitted to the original state's SDU, then forwarded to the SDU in the obligee's new state of residence. This causes a significant delay in distributing payments. Section 319B of the 2008 Uniform Interstate Family Support Act, or UIFSA for short, addresses this by requiring each state to redirect support payments upon request from another state's support enforcement agency when an obligee is receiving child support services in that state and neither the obligor nor the obligee nor the child live in the state of Nevada. Current Nevada law allows only a tribunal to redirect child support payments to another state's SDU. AB 27 seeks to mirror language found in UIFSA to allow a support enforcement agency or a tribunal of the state the ability to comply with this federal requirement. Including the support enforcement agency in existing statute provides for an administrative process to carry out this requirement, thus reducing the need for state-funded court proceedings and getting support to the families faster and more efficient. That's the end of my presentation. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Are there questions from members of the committee? Senator Pickard.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel. Thank you, Ms. Kaplan. I appreciated the brief presentation. I question this. I spent about 25% of my practice or so in the UIFSA court, so I'm pretty familiar with what you're talking about. But this language seems to grant the office the ability to issue an order, which is currently reserved for the U.S. judicial officer who's appointed to do that. I can certainly see how this would make things more efficient if the prosecutor or the DA's office could issue the order without a judicial officer being involved. But isn't that the purpose of the judicial officer under the Title 40 program that we've established? It seems to me you're asking the prosecutor to go straight to an order, much like we would say a deposition or a subpoena, although we're talking about someone's their rights to their income, and we're invading their income, whether that be through a garnishment order or at least a support order from this state. Can you explain how that doesn't run afoul of the separation of powers?
And as you do that, if you could state your name for the record and also make sure that you're speaking up and speaking clearly. We're getting some feedback that it's difficult to hear what's happening in the DWSS office.
Yes. Kim Smalley, for the record, Kimsmalley. Thank you for the question, Senator Pickard. This bill covers existing orders, not the establishment of orders. We are requesting that when a Nevada order is established and the SDU named in the Nevada order that we are able to have an administrative process to pass those payments upon the request of another state under UWIFSA. That is not an establishment of order, just the payment redirect portion named in an existing order.
All right.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, and not, I mean, I'm not sure I'm clear, because under Section 1, Sub 5, it states a support enforcement agency of the state shall, and we're adding the word issue or request a tribunal of the state to issue a child support order and an income withholding order that redirects payment of the current support and arrears and on. And so we're asking in this legislation to add language that would allow the support enforcement agency to issue the order or request the tribunal, which in most cases is the UWIFSA court, to issue that order. And then in Section 2, Sub 2, we're adding the words a support agency or tribunal of the state shall direct and issue an order under Sub B. And so I'm concerned that this language is actually allowing the agency, the executive agency, not the judicial officer, to issue an order for that income withholding order. And I think that may run afoul. Maybe this should be a question for legal to maybe clarify in my mind. To me, this seems inappropriate.
And we do have Mr. Anthony here from legal, if you are willing and able to take that question.
Sure. This is Nick Anthony from the legal division. Thank you, Chair Scheibel. Yes, when we were drafting this bill, we did research UWIFSA, and this bill, as written, exactly tracks the option in UWIFSA, which allows the agency to issue that redirection from child support. So it's, as the agency testified, it's not issuing a new order, but it's actually just the redirection of where that child support would go.
All right, I appreciate that, and maybe, and we can do this offline, if you can just direct me to the citation in UWIFSA, that would help me. I mean, this is something we encounter as a procedural matter, and so this is a day I'm learning something new about it. So thank you very much, Mr. Anthony.
All right. Any other questions from the committee on AB 27? I don't see any questions, so we will go to broadcast for testimony in support of AB 27.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel. To testify in support on AB 27, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in support on AB 27, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits, 648, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes to speak and may begin.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel, members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. My name is John Jones, here on behalf of the Nevada District Attorneys Association and the Clark County District Attorney's Office. Spelling my name is John Jones. And as various DA's offices around Nevada do handle child support enforcement, we are in support of AB 27, and it will help out-of-state children get their support payments faster. So again, we are in support. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. And with that, Chair, there are no more callers to give support testimony at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition of AB 27.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on AB 27, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in opposition on AB 27, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. And Chair, at this time, there are no callers to give opposition testimony on AB 27.
All right. We will now take testimony in the neutral position on AB 27.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel. The phone lines are open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
All right, thank you so much. Did the presenters want to make any closing comments on AB 27?
Kaplan, for the record, addressing Senator Picker's question about the UIFSA section, it is 319B of the 2008 Uniform Interstate Family Support Act, I believe, that all we're doing is trying to mirror that option to redirect payments and not have them filter through the state of Nevada to another state. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to us. We are available to answer any concerns that you may have. And thank you for the opportunity to present AB 27.
Madam Chair, can I have that citation again, please?
If you would please repeat that citation.
Sure, it's section 319B of the 2008 UIFSA.
All right, thank you so much. And that concludes our hearing on AB 27. I will now close the hearing and move to the last item on our agenda, which is public comment. Broadcast, do we have anybody wishing to give public comment?
Thank you, Chair Scheibel. The phone lines are open and working. However, there are still no callers at this time.
All right, then that takes us to the end of our first in-person hybrid meeting. And Senator Hansen wants to address the committee. Go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. It's like old times. Actually, since we're in a pioneering mode, I'm kind of hoping we're going to do something about getting rid of these masks, because we're all vaccinated now. In fact, I got my little red button. If anybody wants one, I got 50 of them in my office. Senator Pickard is being rebellious and wearing one also. But, for those that are worried, when you see me in the hall, if I don't have my mask on, there's this little button, and I've passed the window of time. So anyway, since we're thinking about being pioneers, I'm hoping we'd be able to do that. And even the testimony tales, poor ladies that were testifying, they're muffled enough that I was missing some of the stuff. So I'm just kind of hoping that we're going to keep being a little more pioneer spirited and get rid of these since we're all vaccinated. So just want to throw that out there, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Duly noted. I think that one is above my pay grade, but I will keep it in mind. And with that, before we conclude, I also wanted to, okay. I also wanted to let everybody know that the process remains essentially the same for registering to participate online. When you go to the meeting website and click on the participate button and you fill in your information, we will be starting to update that with the ability to come in person when we get there. But for now, I would just like to congratulate and thank my committee for a fantastic first in-person meeting. And please be on the lookout for our next scheduled meeting. We have a House deadline coming up, which will cause our floor sessions to be rescheduled, which will cause our committees to be rescheduled, but we will try, as always, to be in good communication with all of you about the next meeting of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And until then, we are adjourned.